First and foremost, welcome all of you. I think we have 4 or 5 people now joining in. Yes. Thank you for joining me today on this webinar, which happens to be very, very actually close to my heart. The topic of hypnotherapy, because for 2 reasons. One is because my introduction into the domain of mental health was as a client was through hypnotherapy. And second, because when I got introduced to this line of work and I had the opportunity to work with a therapist many years back, it completely changed my life, just not for me, but also for my family. And that's the reason I ended up leaving my corporate job. I wasn't into this line of work right from the beginning. I'm an MBA. I worked in the corporate sector for close to 15 years. And then hypnotherapy happened to me. I did not plan it, but this is what I call the second innings of my career, having switched from the corporate world into wellness and into therapy. To answer your question about difference between psychotherapy and hypnotherapy, hypnotherapy is born actually out of psychotherapy. The difference is, in psychotherapy, we are mostly working with the conscious part of the mind. We are working with our eyes open and our cognitive mind completely present in the therapeutic session. In hypnosis, under hypnosis, in the domain of hypnotherapy, we are just not working with the conscious part of the mind, which is roughly around only 8 to 10%. Some schools say it is only around 5%. Our main agenda is to actually go deeper into the subconscious mind, and I'll come into the details of what they are and why this is such a beautiful science. When we go into the subconscious, that is where we are able to tap into the root cause of the problem. I can give you an analogy, like, if I have a rash on my skin and I look at the rash and I can put some nice lotion tonight and go to sleep, and maybe the rash goes away because it's on the surface. And then when I wake up tomorrow morning, I may just have the rash reappear again. Then what do? Then I go to a doctor and maybe he or she will do a blood test and tell me what inside my body is creating the rash. It is a similar analogy between any other modality, which is a very, like, even with cognitive behavioral therapy, with psychology, psychotherapy, most of the times we are doing it, it's a talk therapy, right? We are doing exercises, we are talking, but we are very, very conscious. We are operating out of that part of our mind, which is very conscious. In hypnotherapy, under trance, so trance is, I'm going to be talking about trance. It's just a state of awareness in which our physical bodies are very relaxed and our minds are very active. That gives us an inlet into going into the subconscious part of our minds. And most of the times, the core issue, the identification of it, the diagnostics of it, and even the rewiring of it, the healing part of it, happens at that level. So in a very broad way, that is the difference between these 2 modalities. Having said that, Ella, I do not believe that one is better than the other. And though we are talking today about hypnotherapy, I'm not saying that this is better than psychotherapy or psychology or access bar or Reiki. Each modality has its target audience. Each modality also needs to resonate with the people, the kind of people we are working with. So it's not a comparison of one is better than the other. Why I prefer hypnotherapy any day is because to me, it's like the 80-20 principle. I'd rather put my effort into 80%, where the chances of finding an issue and solving that issue is. But that's completely my personal choice. All modalities work at different levels of healing and different levels of awareness. I'm going to explain a bit more about hypnotherapy. Even beyond that, if you have any other questions or you want specific anything comparison between other modalities and hypnotherapy, please either you can unmute yourself or put it in the chat box. I will be more than glad to answer all your questions. So when we talk of hypnosis or hypnotherapy, the origin of this word comes from the Greek language, and the word they use in Greek language is hypnos. Now, if you translate hypnos into English verbatim, it translates into a very peculiar phrase called nervous sleep. Now, it's a paradox, as you can see, that if I'm nervous, I'm not going to be sleeping. And if I'm sleeping, that means I'm definitely not nervous, because that nervousness would not make me let me go to sleep. Hence, in this paradox is the beauty of this modality. Hypnosis is a state in which it's just an altered state of mind. It is a very deep state of relaxation, very much like what you feel when you go into guided meditation. It's a state in which the body, the physical body, is as relaxed as if it is sleeping. Hence, the second part of the word, the phrase nervous sleep. The sleep refers to that relaxed state of the body. And the nervous part actually refers to the agility of the mind. It's a state in which, when somebody is under hypnosis, their physical bodies become extremely relaxed, just the way as if they are sleeping. But their minds are, when I say nervous, I mean active, agile. And in that state, the healing happens. It's not one-sided. It's not a monologue. When we work in hypnosis, there's a dialogue that is happening between me as a therapist and my client. But that this is the state. This is where the name hypnosis comes from. Let me tell you what hypnosis is not, because as a therapist, I get asked these questions every single day. If it's a new client, and they're all very logical questions, because a lot of the myths about hypnosis comes from either the movies we watch or how we have heard of a pendulum being used to douse. So very quickly, let me tell you what it is not. Under the state of hypnosis, no one is helpless, which means therapist does not control your mind. Your mind as a client is still under your control. The only difference is you're in a very relaxed state. So for example, in middle of a session, if a client is uncomfortable, or if, say, for example, there's a fire alarm in the building where I'm working, we can slowly get out of the session and walk out. You're not going to be losing a part of your mind, a limb, or you're not going to be stuck in limbo. These are the terms I hear every day from my clients, so I'm sharing that with you. You don't get stuck in any other domain. You're very much here. And just the way you can easily go into a state of hypnosis, it's very easily you can come out of it as well. Hypnosis is nothing new. Each and every person is at least hypnotized twice a day. When you are dozing off to sleep and when you're getting up in the morning, the first few moments, the state between sleep and awake is the hypnotic trance. So if you're binging on Netflix, you are in trance. If you are listening to music, you can be in trance. When you're sleeping, when you're going off to sleep, you are in trance. Advertisements, if you're hooked onto it, and this is how the world of advertisements work, we are in trance. It is nothing new. The only thing we do is we know techniques in a clinical setup, how to take a person who has come with a presenting issue, take that person into trance and work and do the therapy in this state. So you're not at all helpless. Nobody is helpless under hypnosis. The control is always there with the client. Second myth is not everyone can be hypnotized. That's also not true. Anybody who is willing can be hypnotized. So of course, this cannot happen with force. It cannot happen without a person's knowledge. We work within the ethical boundaries of a science of hypnosis, where there are people who would come with issues like fears, phobias, physical diseases. They could be with anxiety, with depression. I will come to the list of things that you can work with hypnotherapy, but it is only with the conscious permission of a client that we work. And if the conscious permission is there, it's a natural state and anyone can go into it. Different people can go at different levels depending on, again, their state. But there is no way a person who is willing will not go under trance. There are different techniques to make that happen. Hypnosis is same as sleeping. It is not. When we are awake, if we map our brain waves, we are right now in the state, like all of us are awake, we are in the beta state. When we start to doze off, we go from beta to alpha, from alpha to theta, and then theta to delta. Delta is our sleep state. Hypnosis is the in-between state. So in hypnotic trance, you are still present at some level, very consciously. You can still talk, you will still share, but at the same time, you are very relaxed. But sleeping and hypnosis is not the same. They're completely two different states of the brain and the brain functioning and even the brain waves. Hypnosis makes you reveal deep secrets against your will, not at all. That is never the agenda, and without anyone's will, forget getting to secrets, nothing will work in the session. The session is with due respect to the client and only with client's permission to wherever client wants to visit and resolve the issue that they have come with. Hypnotherapy is like magic. It's a mystical practice. It's a pure scientific practice. There's a science behind it. There's an art to do it. And what is magical is the results, the way the mind can reconfigure, the way the mind can rewire. And people who come out of illnesses, of discomforts, that part I will agree is very magical, but it is not a magical practice and it is not mystical. It can be done by everyone. It's a science that can be learned. And I give my own example. I'm not from this line of work. I worked in the corporate sector for more than 15 years. And then I studied this. And then I became a hypnotherapist. And so can all of you. Hypnotherapists have special powers. We don't. And the most common thing I hear is, oh, you can look into my eyes and read what is there. I can't read anyone's eyes. We are not trained to do that, and we have no special power. The power that I have is equal to any other human being. It's just that I've studied a science, and so could you. And if that interests you, that is something that you could definitely look at. Radhika has a question. Which brainwave does hypnosis work on? It's between alpha and theta, both. There are different depths of hypnosis, and it is in that state. So it cannot be mathematically measured, Radhika. When I'm talking of the depth of hypnosis, imagine it's like waves that come on the beach and they retreat back. So anywhere between alpha and theta is hypnotic trance. Depending on the session, it could be a very light trance, which would be in alpha, or it could be a very deep trance, which would be in theta, bordering on delta. But we are neither in delta and we are neither in beta. We are somewhere in between. Great. Okay, so which brings us to the point which I was discussing the first question. I think Ella had a question on the difference between psychotherapy and hypnotherapy. How now getting deeper into the subject, this is the science of the mind. When I say mind, and it's a mind science, the pertinent question, of course, is then what is mind? So let me at least tell you, before I throw the question open to all of you, that we are hypnotherapists. So I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist, or I'm not even a psychologist. Psychiatry is a science that works on the brain, on the functioning of the brain, and treatment is done through a variety of things, including medicine. Hypnotherapy is part of mind science, which means our focus is not the brain. We are not experts of the brain. We are not doctors. We do not prescribe medication. We work on the mind. Now, before I get into the details of it, would you like to share what you think is the mind? Where is your mind? And how would you define mind? The only hint I'm giving you is it is not your brain. And if you are kind enough, then share your thoughts, because each one of you will have, I'm pretty sure, will have a different take on what is mind. And none of you will be wrong in your own answers. And then we'll get into the depth of it to understand how, that's how intriguing this line of work is. So just, you can just think aloud, type aloud, and tell me what do you think and where is. Michelle says, is it thinking and thoughts? Yes, it is linked to thinking and thoughts, but think of it. Where is your mind? Because what's inside our skull is actually our brain. So what is mind? Is it tangible? Is it intangible? And where is it? Are we sure we all have a mind? Because we use this phrase all the time that, you know, you've lost your mind. Any other thoughts apart from Michelle's comment on whether it's
I would like to share mine.
Yes, sure, Kurat, go ahead.
I think mind is our conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Our consciousness, you mean?
Mainly our conscious, but yes, a part of it is our subconscious as well. That is mind.
Yes, mind has two parts. You're right. It has a conscious part and it has a subconscious part.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. And there's also Radhika saying, I think it doesn't physically exist. It is your consciousness. Yeah. So you see, it's kind of similar in what you're saying. Mind is whatever is happening around us, Noman. And Ella says, I think the mind is the thought that results from the brain's neurocircuits. Okay. Yeah. As I said, you know, none of you will be wrong. You will just capture the different facets of the definition of what mind is. As far as holistic sciences or hypnotherapy is concerned, a very simple way of thinking of what is mind is imagine mind to be a software and the brain to be a hardware. So Ella, it's actually the other way around. It's not brain's neurocircuits. And I'll explain how it is. It's just a flip of what you said. So imagine I am reaching out to you. I have my laptop open in front of me. And in order to reach out to you, all I have to do is connect through my laptop. Now my laptop is a tangible asset. I can touch it. I can feel it. And every time I have to do something, I'm touching the hardware. So the brain and the physical body is like the hardware. But just having a laptop doesn't allow me to do this webinar. What I also need is a software called Zoom and a software called PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint. So I am using two intangible things here, which is working on and through my hardware. And hence we are in a meeting, in a virtual meeting group, and we are talking about the mind. Exactly the same. So the brain is the hardware, the mind is the software. Now, if you go into a definition, and in this, I'll be very honest and open. When I came into this line of work and when my teacher first told me this definition, I found it very difficult to differentiate between the brain and the mind, because we even point to our brains and say, I'm thinking, or, you know, my mind is here. But the fun part is, even if you go to the Oxford Dictionary definition of what is mind, and this was my first research on mind many years back when I started to study this curriculum, it's still defined as an element of a person that enables them to be aware of their world, their experiences, to think, to feel, and some of you mentioned the faculty of consciousness and thought. Interesting here is it's an element, which means it is an intangible asset through which we are experiencing our life. So for us, as when we discuss hypnotherapy or mind sciences, we look at mind as a very, very powerful tool. Now, the million-dollar question is are you in charge of your mind, or is your mind in charge of you? And that's food for thought for you to think after the webinar. But that is the question where the quality of our life depends. If we are able to understand the mind, if we are able to understand its functioning and tweak it to our benefit, there is nothing that we cannot achieve. And there is a word in Sanskrit called Aham Brahmasmi, which means I am the master of my own universe. And this is what it means. It means if we understand the power of our mind, specifically our subconscious mind, it is a manifestation tool. It is a tool that we can use to create whatever we wish to, only if we understand its function. So for now, for today's webinar, very simple way of understanding is this is the brain, the body, the mind, it's the hardware, and the mind is the software that works on the brain. And then if I go a little deeper into it, because you've shared what about consciousness, about thought, a mind operates us, like it operates ourselves through different layers. And the first layer of its operation is the thoughts, or as we call as our thought body or our causal body. Which means that very simply we know that thoughts are the seeds of creation. Everything that we see around us, our inventions, our gadgets, have all come from somebody's thought, and then that translated into its physical existence. The same thing, the mind controls the body of thoughts, which is the causal body. Thoughts create emotions. And that is called the body of emotions, the astral body. When we feel something, when we emote, that emotion has an impact on our energy, which is our energy body. So if any of you are familiar with energy sciences like Reiki or pranic healing, that's what the therapists or the healers work on, the energy body. And finally, when it impacts our energy body, it impacts our power centers in the body, which we call as the chakras. And if you notice the position of the chakras, they are right above each one endocrine gland, which means the metabolism in our body, the hormonal function in the body is in sync with whether our energy centers or chakras are working in tandem. Now, if there's a thought that creates a negative emotion, it can affect our energy bodies in a negative way, which means there could be hormonal imbalances in our body, which finally affects our physical body. So there is thought, there is emotion, there's energy, and there is physical body. That's the gambit of all holistic sciences. Doctors work at the level of the physical body, which is the hardware. Energy healers work with the energy bodies. Hypnotherapy it starts from the level of thoughts, and then we with the integrated clinical hypnotherapy that we practice here, you could be working with any of them. Now, again, to reiterate, it's not that one is better than the other. The entry point of each of these modalities is different. Now, the other way of describing what a mind is and how we describe it in holistic sciences, we say that mind is a vibrating ball of energy all around us, the center of which is at the pit of your stomach. I know it's a bizarre definition to say the least, but it's very interesting to note that A, it is intangible, hence it's a ball of energy which is all around us. It is through this energy that we are kind of experiencing life. What actually blew my mind as a student of this modality was when it says that the center of this mind is at the pit of our stomach. Now, if you go with physiology, what is at the pit of our stomach, which organ is there, you will end up finding our small intestine, which in another terminology is called the gut. And this is where the phrase gut feeling comes from. So when we say that I have a gut feeling about a project that's not going to happen, or I have a gut feeling about this person, I have a gut feeling it's going to rain, technically speaking, your and my gut doesn't feel anything. It just digests the food that we eat. But yet we use this term, gut feeling, and that's because the epicenter of the mind, of this intelligence with which we are living life, is in the gut. And probably that's the reason a lot of people, especially children, they feel a lot of stuff in their tummies. There are butterflies in the tummies, there's rumbling in the tummies. What we're actually talking about is this intelligence speaking to us through our bodies. That's the definition of mind that I will leave you with at the moment, because it's a lot and it's very intriguing. It's a completely different way of looking at however we have described it, whether it was the brain or any other way. Now, if this is the I will, if any questions are there, you can either unmute or you can put it in the chat box. I will intermittently keep checking there. Okay, no questions so far. So if this is the vibrating ball of energy that is all around us, through which we are experiencing life, rightly, as one of you said, that it has two parts to it. It has a conscious part and it has a subconscious part. Now look at this diagram as like an iceberg. Now when you see an iceberg in an ocean, we only see 1/10 of it. We see the top part of it, which is outside the water, and the rest of it, the 9/10 of it, is submerged. It is same for the mind. It's only roughly around 10 to 12% of this mind is what we call as the conscious part of our mind, and the rest is subconscious, below the level of consciousness. Pretty simple till here. Now, what are the functions of the conscious mind then? All of these. So conscious mind is all about thinking, finding a logic, doing the analysis, feeling, decision making, judgment. So basically all our cognitive functions are coming from our conscious mind. So at the moment, all of us, we are using different facets of our conscious mind as we go through this webinar. Now, if you notice, it's only roughly 10%, which means just by using 10% of our mind's capacity, we are able to live considerably good lives. So then imagine if we had the capability to log into the sphere of the subconscious, how it can impact our life. Which brings me to the logical question of then, if everything is happening in the conscious mind, why do we even have a subconscious mind? And if we do have a subconscious mind, what is the reason? What is the function of this mind? And as you see, it's pretty simple. Subconscious mind doesn't have 10,000 things to do. Subconscious mind only does two very simple yet extremely crucial things. First and foremost, subconscious mind keeps us alive. Survival. And a simple way of explaining that to you is if I tell you that please switch on your videos and each one of you raise your right hand and wave at me. I'm pretty sure each one of you can do that because it's so simple, right hand wave. I can do it so simply because it's the voluntary movements of our body, which is actually very limited if you think of it, is governed by the conscious mind and the decisions that it takes. Now, logically then, if I'm so much in charge of my body movements, then let's do an exercise and let's stop the functioning of our kidneys for the next 5 seconds, all of us. And even if I say that, you're going to laugh because we have no idea how to do that. Why we can't do that is because the internal organ functions, the survival, is not under the control of our conscious mind. This autopilot with which we live, like sometimes even we are unconscious of our breathing. When you go to sleep at night, you are not telling heart keep beating, lungs keep breathing, kidney keep functioning. Yet our bodies are perfect machines that there's a coordination within our internal systems and organs and they work perfectly under autopilot. And that autopilot is the subconscious mind. So a major part of subconscious mind goes into surviving, helping us surviving, keeping us alive basically through our internal body functions. And the second function is storage. So imagine your conscious mind is like the hard drive of your laptop. And what is your the conscious mind is like the CPU of your laptop, which is the central processing unit. Our conscious mind is constantly processing information. Contrary to this, the subconscious mind is like the hard drive of our computers. And what do hard drives do? They just save files. They archive. So this subconscious mind is a huge archive. It's a repertoire of all the experiences that you and me have had since time immemorial. And this is all that subconscious do. Now coming into the more fun aspect of it, if the strength of the conscious mind is 1 times x, the strength of the subconscious mind is anywhere between 6,000 and even some schools believe it's close to 35,000 times X. And take a moment to take it in because this is important. This is exactly where hypnotherapy or therapy happens in general. This is the zone, the subconscious is the zone where you find your answers to the most illogical things that are happening in your life. I want to lose weight. I have tried keto, intermittent fasting, and everything else, and I eat healthy, I drink a lot of water, but I just can't lose weight. I want to be in a relationship which is harmonious, which is loving, but I seem to attract all the wrong partners. I have all the qualifications. I want a good job that pays me well. I want success, but for whatever reason, I keep attracting the wrong bosses in my life. If this sounds familiar, this is an example of how our conscious desires sometimes are not in alignment with our subconscious patterns. And when there is a war between what I want consciously and what backlog, what burden I'm carrying at a subconscious level, when they fight, of course, 1x versus 6,000 times x. There is no way conscious desires will get fulfilled unless the subconscious is aligned. That is hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy is accessing this part of the mind, looking at what is the corrupted file sitting there that is creating this disturbance in my life, taking it out of the hard drive, putting it on the desktop, which means from the unconscious part, we are bringing it to the level of awareness for our clients. And all we have to do is cleanse that file. We don't delete it. So we don't say that, oh, this never happened to you. Of course it's happened, but there's a way to let go of any emotional charge that we are still carrying from the past. That in essence is the difference, again, coming back to your question, Ella, about psychotherapy versus hypnotherapy. There's a lot of similarity in the techniques we do, but our work is more into this zone of the subconscious. Now, subconscious also has two parts to it. Something what we call as modern memory is like my life's memory, Arpita's memory from the time I have been born till this moment. So imagine all moments of my life are filed there. But that's not all. There are a lot of stuff that we also carry with us that doesn't belong to us. And that is what we call as primitive memory, ancestral memory, or evolutionary memory, which means things that we have taken from somewhere else. It could be our parents, it could be our ancestors. It depends on the school of thought you come from, on what your belief system is, but this is something in a very simple way, evolutionary memory, something that has come to us through our DNA, through our genes, has evolved over a period of time, and probably this is where you look for any ancestral trauma or blockage that has come through many, many generations. And just before I get into the next segment, there's also a third part of the mind, which we call as the critical mind or the critical filter. And this mind, it's like a filter between what we take in from the environment and what we can store inside. The critical mind, in very simple language, is your conditioning, is the belief systems that you've picked up in the first 8 years of your life. So this software of the mind that we're talking about today, imagine this software is built in the first 8 years of our lives. And then at the age of 8, around that time, these belief systems, this conditioning gets fixated. Beyond that, till whatever time we live, we are just working on and replicating those belief systems. How are they formed? They're formed from 4 factors. The seer. The S is socio, which means the family we come from, the community that is surrounding us. The E is education, the kind of education we have received till that age or not received. The second E is economic, which means the financial status of the family, of the community, of the country where we grew in. and R is for religious beliefs. All this put together shapes this software, and this happens in the first 8 years of our lives. Then we are just repeating our patterns, we are just repeating our whatever we have. Now, not all belief systems are bad, so there is nothing to be worried about, and it's very morbid if I say nothing can be changed beyond 8 years. Hypnotherapy is a science where we can work on these redundant belief systems. Now, not all belief systems are bad, and we don't have to get rid of every belief system we've had since childhood. But if there is a belief system that is in contradiction to your life's desires, that can be tweaked, that can be changed, and new belief system can be brought into that zone, and that can be done through hypnotherapy. I know I'm mindful, I've spoken a lot on this part. It's very intriguing. If there is any questions or if there's something unclear, please feel free to stop me anytime, and I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Nothing is there on the chat so far. So the reprogramming that we're talking about now is what we call as the therapy part of it. So under trance, under induction, after inducting a client, I'm just giving you a very quick preview of how it works. We don't work with erasing an experience. Like, you know, as I said, there are files that we store in our subconscious. We don't delete it. We just work on that experience that has happened in the past. We neutralize it. So for example, there is an emotional charge that is attached to an experience. Through hypnosis, you could neutralize it, like bring it down to the charge to 0. We detach the person from the experience. So say, for example, I was 3 years old and I was bitten by a dog, and from that moment onwards, I'm very scared of dogs. The moment I see a dog approaching, I almost get a panic attack. So what do? We first detach the person from that experience. You are not that anxiety. What you feel is the anxiety, which means you are reacting out of an experience. Now, once through the process of hypnosis and through the techniques of hypnotherapy, we are able to detach. Client is able to neutralize that charge. What does neutralization mean? It means the next time I see a dog, I will know that yes, things have happened in the past and I was bitten and it was a very, very bad experience. But today I'm an adult and I don't need to be as fearful as I was then. Which means I may not be going and hugging the dog, but for sure a dog passing by the road will not make my heart palpitate, will not make my palms sweat. That is what we are talking about here, about releasing the toxicity that we have carried for whatever reason, either due to my own experiences of that is carried in the DNA, or any external event for that matter. So the goal of hypnotherapy is to reprogram our thoughts and our beliefs by healing out the subconscious patterns that are conflicting today with my conscious desires. Yep. So why should we do hypnotherapy and not okay? Why am I a fan of hypnotherapy? Is because if you ask me, hypnotherapy to me is as good as a life skill. Personally, I think this curriculum should be included in schools, in colleges, and I hope we'll be able to see more of mental health entering our academic institutions in the future. It's as good as, for me, it is as good as learning how to swim, to ride a bike, any life skill that makes my life simple. It is extremely safe. There's nothing that can go haywire wrong. Also because we are working with the subconscious, and the subconscious mind is the custodian of our survival. And this is extremely effective. If you look at the data from the American Health Magazine, the recovery rate with hypnotherapy after 6-7 sessions is 93% compared to behavioral therapy or compared to psychoanalysis. So this is what I meant when I said earlier, my 80-20 principle. It's not that the other modalities are any less. Different people react in different ways, but My personal favorite is hypnotherapy because it is straight arrow to the bull's eye and it is resolved really, really fast. What can it do for you? If you ask me as a therapist, as I said, we could work on almost every issue that is there in life. What I've put forward here is just a snapshot of it. We could work with habits like smoking, nail biting, any addictions, whether it's again, it could come under smoking, it could be alcohol addiction, it could be any form of habit or addiction that you are not able to get out of and it's become a repetitive pattern. Phobias and fears. So fears and phobias are two different categories that we work with. Fear is something that we know where it comes from. There's an origin. There is a very logical reason to why people are scared. Phobias are unexplained fears where people have, for example, fear of heights, fear of water, where they have never had any bad incident, but probably right from birth, they are extremely scared of certain things. We work with a lot with eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, any kind of eating disorders, weight loss. Again, because weight is as much as a mental function, as much as it comes physically. Depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and then you go into this entire gamut of mindfulness with stress, motivation, confidence, you can name it. And there is hope as far as hypnotherapy is concerned. Who can be a hypnotherapist? I think I covered this. You don't need to be anything special, anyone. As I said, I come from a corporate background and I am here talking to you today. I'm an example of people from any walk of life. As a teacher of clinical hypnotherapy, I can tell you in my class, I have young graduates. I have people who have retired and want to start a new phase in their life. I've had doctors, nurses, pathologists, I've had psychologists, I've had homemakers, school teachers, counselors, all walks of life. Only thing you need to come with is the zest to learn. If this fascinates you, if you want to look at it, look at life from a different perspective. When I am talking about the course that I teach, not everybody comes with a motto to become a therapist. Some people come very point blank that they want to be hypnotherapists. Some come because they want to integrate hypnotherapy into their line of work. And these are the doctors, nurses, anesthesiologists. These are sports medicine professionals. These are psychologists. They are Reiki healers, Theta healers who want to bring a more integrative approach to their practice. And some people just come in because they are purely intrigued to see what the science can do for them. They do it for themselves, they do it for their families. So it is actually an open to all course. Should this interest you? Should you be intrigued by how powerful our subconscious is and what it can do? Where can you study? I'm going to talk about the institute that I studied in and the institute that I'm a part of now as a teacher. ECA, you can go to their website. We in the UAE, we teach it in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi. We have foundation courses. Once you do the course, you also become a part of the support groups that we hold every month. Why I personally chose this course as a student many years back is because it gave me this integrated approach. It's almost like, you go for a buffet and you have an array of things that you want to pick up. This course to me is like that. It gives you a perspective of Western clinical hypnotherapy in the first 3 levels, going into the more metaphysical part of it in level 4 and 5. And when you come out of it, you are a holistic, integrated therapist. And then you can use what resonates with you and what resonates with your clients. This is a course that is universally around the world, globally accepted, accredited. In the UAE, we have the KHDA attestation and certification. So once you become a therapist through this course, you are affiliated with the KHDA. It's an ISO certified course and institute, which means you could be taking it in Dubai, you could be taking it in Hong Kong, in Nairobi, in the US. It's the same thing, only the teachers change. We support our students with internships, with the mentoring, and the teachers will work with you as you do your case studies with every level. And it is a pure clinical and therapeutic application. So we are not looking here at hypnotism, or we are not looking at entertainment. We are looking here from a very clinical therapeutic approach where we work with people who are in pain and they come for resolution, probably where they have not found the resolution in other sciences. Again, known worldwide, we have affiliations with the IMDHA, with the Tasso Institute Netherlands, so on and so forth. I won't waste any time on this. You could just go onto the ECA website. You could contact Illuminations and they will give you all the details on that. When can you start? If this interests you, you can start now, which I mean literally now. I have a level 1 coming up this weekend. So if any of you are interested, or you know any of you that might be interested, you're more than welcome to join me and make a start. And I can vouch for it that life changes, our perspective of things change, and it's a beautiful journey. Now, that was all that I had in mind. If there are any questions, you can unmute yourself, or you can put it in the chat box. And I'm all here. We are just around 8 o'clock, but I will be here for the next couple of minutes. For any questions that you have, I'll be more than glad to answer.
Yes, I have a question. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
There are 2 people.
It's okay. You can go ahead. No worries.
One by one. I'm here. I'll answer both.
Okay, great. I was going to say, you said that you put the client in a relaxed state.
Yes.
Does that make it easier to go into the subconscious?
In that relaxed state, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, it is. See, what happens is when we are in physical discomfort, there are distractions which pulls us back into, the very conscious part. So in that relaxed state, now I'm saying this most of the time, in the very relaxed state, it is easier to go deeper into our subconscious mind, 90% of the time. But there are times when client cannot relax. So for example, if somebody is coming with very heightened emotion, or is very anxious, or is very sad, that is you can't tell that person, now close your eyes and relax, because guess what? If they could, they would have done it. They wouldn't be coming for therapy. In those cases, Kurat, it was your question, right? So in those cases, we actually use that heightened state and we go deeper into hypnosis. So hypnosis can happen in a very relaxed state, but in many a times in a clinical setup, if there is a heightened sense of emotion, we can even use that, because when there is too much pain, when there's an overwhelming sensation, when there's overwhelming emotion, we are already in the state of hypnosis. So many a times we use that to go deeper. So not always eyes closed. Hypnosis can also happen with eyes open in a very conversational way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, it happens in real life a lot of times when people are very agitated and very much, in the grip of an emotion. We use that emotion initially to go into trance. It's possible. Very common. And then somebody else had a question.
Yes, I was talking.
Who's that?
Correct. I'm correct.
Who was before there?
There was somebody else before me.
Okay, correct. No problem. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know that I did already hypnotherapy with somebody. So I want to start actually. So you as a professional, how would you, give me a tip on how to build that trust up with the person? Like, of course, once you start, you want to start around in your circle, because hypnosis is all about practice.
Yes.
The more you practice, the more you get a good grip on it.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah. So I just want to start, but I I mean, I've been certified as a hypnotherapist already, but
Okay.
I am unable to find that courage because it keeps. I mean, my mind just keeps telling me, no, I cannot yet start. Although I asked the institute I did with, and they clarified it very clearly that yes, this 35 hours of training is good enough, and you're ready to
Yeah.
now deal with people. So my question from you as an expert, of course, how to start building up that trust level with your client. I mean, especially like, once you start, you first move around your closest circle because that's the people you can approach very quickly. So
You know,
how would you suggest, that how to approach people, or you're not able to suggest anything on that?
no, I understand your question completely. Let me
Mm-hmm.
answer it in parts. You will have, you will get the clients and you will have that confidence. And you're right, because this is the more you practice, the better you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And hypnotherapy works on the law of repetition. So the more you repeat for you and your client, both, that's better.
Right.
How I would start, I would suggest is avoid people you know. Because
Okay.
when you work with family and when you work with friends, I don't
Hmm.
know if it is always possible to maintain a boundary as a therapist and client. Maybe you
Hmm.
can maintain it, maybe somebody you're working with may not. So my thumb rule for me as a therapist is to work with people I do not know. So even if I know, forget family, I wouldn't even be
Hmm.
working with a friend. So if a friend approaches
Hmm.
me, I will refer it to a fellow therapist. Because at
Right.
that level, that you don't want any undue interference of, like, for example, if I want to try and do hypnotherapy on my mom, while in trance, she will be thinking of, this is the girl I fed, I changed nappies, and today she's trying to do that. Actually shatters the confidence of a new therapist.
I get you. Hmm.
So my first point is try and go out there, and if you
Hmm.
feel confident, then advertise and get clients who you don't know. Second
Hmm.
thing, it works when there is an urgency from client. It's not your urgency. It's not for you to prove it or me to prove that hypnotherapy works or hypnosis works.
Hmm. Hmm.
It works beautifully when client comes and says, I want to quit smoking. I've tried everything and nothing works.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
that will of the client, that zest of the client is what is very important, especially when
Correct.
you're starting.
Correct.
And I don't know, with the course that you have done, that's because we all do different courses.
Yeah.
The best way to build credibility with your client is your knowledge. So when I work with a new client, and that's the reason this course that I'm just talking about, I'm not comparing to what you've done. Why I
Yeah.
liked it and I picked it up many years back is because it is 26 full days of training, like classroom
Okay.
training. This is not to be done online. We teach the theory, we do the demo,
Hmm.
and then as therapists, my students are already practicing in class. So their initial, what you're going through is already they've practiced, they have done their mistakes, and they have become confident in those line of work. So focus on the theory, focus on building that knowledge into your the client that will come and see you, because nothing speaks more than that. See, it's like when you go to a doctor, you would want to know their credentials, and when they talk, you want to go to a doctor who knows he or she is talking about.
Correct.
And if none of that is helping, then look at which part of you tells you that you can't do this. You're certified, you've done the requisite hours, and work
Okay,
with
one
a
more thing. One
who
more
can
thing.
help you. Sorry?
Sorry. No, go ahead. Please finish
No,
what
no,
you
you
said.
go ahead. I interrupted. Go ahead, please.
So I just wanted to ask for one more additional thing, that once we start a hypnosis session,
Yes,
so there are different techniques, of course.
yes.
So what are the most effective techniques for a beginner hypnotist to start with? Like, which techniques should be or not should be, can be adopted very easily, or can have anyone can have a grip on them faster. So like when you start, so how do which techniques are more suggested?
Well, it's not dependent on the therapist, Kurat, in that case. Like even when a student of mine, say today is starting, my student could do inner child work, my student could do organ regeneration, or my student could do void or cord cutting, any of the techniques. Because ideally, we are like the buffet, right? We have all the tools and techniques. Now, what I'm going to use for my client is going to dependent on my client's need, not my need. So everything for as far like this institute or as far as I'm concerned, for me, there is nothing easy or hard. It's all at the same level. I need to be focused and I am focused on my client's need. If my client needs an organ regeneration, which is at level 5 of this course, I would do that. If my client needs a simple hypnodrama or a very small inner child work, I would do that. So my suggestion would be keep it open and don't put a mindset that this is easy and that is hard. Nothing is easy or hard. Everything is
Always.
It should come very naturally, and then you will see your confidence will also be high.
So you need to be a very good judge and start acting according to the situation, right?
You need to be. For me, I am at the service of my client. If my client needs apple, I will give apple. If my client needs orange, I give orange.
Understood.
It's not my choice. I may like orange more than apple, but if my client wants apple, I have orange.
I understood. So the course now that Illuminations is offering, this what does this cover? Sorry, can you just quickly go through that before you end? And also how many hours and just a little detail about the course that you're offering.
Just hold on for 1 second. I'll check the chat box and I'll answer both your questions. Noman, honestly, I love hypnotism. I really want to learn it practically. I listened all of your lectures, but it was a little hard to understand some of the things, how much exact time we will be required. Okay, hold on. There is no silly questions. You can ask all the questions, no problem. By profession, you're an architect. I want to convince my clients to go for right planning decision before spending their money. I don't think I got that part, but yeah. So I think your questions are very similar. Hold on, I will go back to, what happened here? Hold on for 1 second, please. Because these are queries both about the course. So for the two of you, I'm answering this together, this course, and please go to the website of eka.co.in. You'll get all the information. This course this is an ISO certified institute, and it's one of the leading institutes around the world. This course is run all around the world. So what you get in Dubai is what you will get otherwise as well. Now, as you see, this is how it works. So the level 1 is a 2-day program. It will always be on a Friday, Saturday, which is the coming Friday, Saturday, I'm teaching level 1. In level 1, you learn about all the induction techniques. So how do you induct a person based on their internal? So we have questionnaires to understand how people take in information, and dependent on the kind of person your client is, you will learn different induction techniques. This is also for Kurat, because you said, how do I work with different people, and how do I get the confidence? You get the confidence because not the same induction technique works for everyone. It's very, very different the way we take in information. What else you learn in level 1? You learn self-hypnosis, because first we do it on ourselves and then we go to practice outside. You learn about the development of the human brain, the development of the human mind. You learn way more details of the theory of mind. What I taught you now, you do it like it's almost like a 2-3 hours program in itself. You learn to work with scripts, which is suggestion-based therapy in level 1. Then when you move to level 2 and 3, both are 5-day programs. This will happen on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the following Friday, Saturday. In these 2 levels, in level 2 and 3, you are now going to get your actual tools that you will work in hypnotherapy. So level 1, 2, and 3 is pure Western clinical hypnotherapy. You will, what tools do you learn? You learn EFT, you learn body syndromes, you learn cord cutting, inner child work, family dysfunctions, habit control, couple counseling, relationship counseling, so on and so forth. It's a very detailed and a very thorough offering. Now, when you move to level 4 and 5, level 4 is a 6-day program. So you will do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then again a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Level 5 is 8 days with 1 day gap in between. 4 and 5, you're now going into the more metaphysical aspects. You are going into the more energy aspects. You're doing organ regeneration, you're doing ancestral healing, you're doing past life work, you're doing life between lives, more integrated inner child healing. That's your entire. So it's good 26 days of training. What happens in class is you learn the theory. As a teacher, me or whoever is teaching you will do a demonstration of the techniques. And then under the supervision of the teacher, you will practice with each other. Only when you fulfill this criteria, you get certified at the end of the level and you move to the next level. Starting level 2, you will, after the completion of level 2, you will now start to work with people from real life. And you will start to build your case studies. So you have to do 2 cases after level 2, 2 cases after level 3, 3 cases after level 4, and again 3 cases after level 5. So by the end of the 5th level, you would have worked on 10 people with 10 different reasons, like ailments or whatever problems they're working with. You need to submit those case studies. You will do a written examination on the theory after level 5, and then you get your final certification. When you get that final certification, that is the certificate you can get attested by KHDA in the UAE. Let me know if this answered both your queries. If I have not covered any part of it, I will be happy to repeat it. The only one other point, Norman, hypnotism is very different from hypnotherapy. Hypnotism may also refer to mind control, tricks, games. That's not what we do. We are hypnotherapists. We work with people who have clinical conditions. So it's slightly different. Maybe you've used it in the same manner, but hypnotism is very different. Stage hypnotism is very different from the therapy work. Tyra, once all the levels are complete, can one become an instructor? No. After you finish your 5 levels, you need to be working as a therapist. There's a minimum time duration that you have to practice as a therapist. You would need to complete all your cases, and then you have to apply for teacher's training. Once you qualify the teacher's training, then you can become an instructor. So the teacher's training and the qualification for teacher's training is the additional course that you would need to do. Second question is, how different, similar is hypnotherapy to theta healing? And I hear a lot of similarities. I'm with you on that. I also hear from a lot of my clients who I work with now, and if they have experienced theta, they say it is very similar. I do not know much about theta healing, so I'm not the right person to compare it. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I have to research a bit more, but from what little understanding I have of theta is the similarity is they also work on belief systems, on changing the belief systems. But I think the way they do it, and I can be completely wrong, so please don't take me at my words for this question. I think how they do it in theta is they connect to a bigger source, the creator, and they use that connection for healing. Vis-a-vis, we work on the subconscious mind. That's max I can explain without giving you wrong information. So welcome, Norman. I'm glad you found worth and value in it. Fees, Kurat, I have to ask Illuminations to send you that because I'm not the right person. Each level is at a different level pricing. I think the level 1 is at 1530. But there's plus VAT, and Illuminations offered a lot of discounts. So depending on how many levels you will sign up for, they will offer you discounts. So let me not confuse you. I will have a word with the lady in Illuminations who does coordinate for this training, and I'll ask them to send you the details. Better you hear from the horse's mouth, because I may give you a number which is not correct, and you may end up having more discounts. Like, I'm pretty sure they offer more discounts when you sign up for more levels. Thank you, Michelle. I'm glad you liked the session. If there are any more questions, again, you can either unmute yourself or you can type in the chat box. It's been a pleasure.
Can I say something?
Yes, sure. Who is this?
I asked you the previous question about the relaxed state because
yes,
I'm confused a little bit because like when you're in a relaxed state, you do the conscious choices that are different from your patterns. يعني مثلا you are, sorry, I'm talking in Arabic and in English. Yeah, like because when you are in the subconscious patterns, you are when you're stressed, those like subconscious impulses, they come out. And when you're like, I find myself when I'm in a relaxed state, I choose the new conscious choices. Yeah, so that's why like I'm confused about.
I don't know if I understand your question correctly. When I say we work through a relaxed state, is because in that state we can access our subconscious. But as I said, it's not always the case. There's many a times when we are in a heightened state. So for example, fear is also hypnotic. When we are under the influence of fear, again, we don't make the right choices because our subconscious patterns start to govern it. So it's actually the other way around. So our job is, as a therapist, is to go to the core of the problem. The core can be reached through a very relaxed way. The core can be reached through disturbance as well. For example, when somebody comes in a very heightened state of fear, of anxiety, of sadness, one way of doing the therapy and starting the therapy is by actually increasing that level of discomfort. So for example, if any of you have heard of EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, where we can tap on certain parts of our bodies, that can also take us into trance. So trance, what is trance? Trance is a state in which the access to the subconscious mind is available. Now, it could be available through relaxed way. It could be available through the bombardment of emotions, words, anything that our five senses can pick up.
Okay,
thank you. Does that answer, Ella? Or was it something else that you were asking?
No, thank you. I wanted also to ask, I've heard about inner child work a lot, but recently I've heard about inner children, and what, I didn't exactly understand. There are more than one inner child?
100%. All of us have many inner children. So an inner child is a part of us that is still not healed. Say, for example, if I was 10 years old, or maybe I was 30 years old, it doesn't matter. So inner children doesn't mean that has to be a child part. Inner child is any part of you, right from yesterday onwards, going into when you were born. If there is any part of you that is unhealed, that becomes an inner child. And 100%, each one of us have more than one inner child. So they are called inner children. Some inner children may have the same theme. Say, for example, if a pattern in somebody's life has been abandonment, then there could be many inner children who can string together with the same pattern of abandonment. But the same person can have another 10 inner children, say with the pattern of guilt. So it definitely, 100%, there is more than one inner children that we have.
Can we say that each child has its own unhealed experience?
Yes, yes, yes. So say, for example, if the theme of this client is abandonment, now there can be an inner child when I was 6 months old and I was in the cot and I was crying and my mama didn't pick me up. I'm 3 years old. I'm going to nursery. I get bullied by the other children. Nobody likes me. I'm abandoned. I am 10 years old and I have been left alone at home and nobody cares for me. I am 17 years old. It's my first crush and I love this guy and he leaves me. I'm 30 years old and it can continue. So the theme can be same, Ella, but the experiences can be different and they can string throughout our lives.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for answering my questions. Thank you.
More than welcome, Ella. That's the reason I'm here for the webinar. Norman has a question. One more thing. Yes, hypnotherapy, Norman, is completely different from stage hypnosis. So stage hypnosis or hypnotism is mind control. Neither do I know how to do this, nor I have any intention to control anyone's mind. So what I teach and what we are talking about today is a therapeutic modality to help people who are in need of that. It has got no connection to stage hypnosis at all. Your understanding is right. You're following some other people and what you're offering is the same like that. I honestly, pardon me, but I do not know of the other courses. I'm just talking on behalf of myself as a therapist and ECA as an institute. And yeah, please do your research and compare and see what resonates with you. It's not necessarily what resonates with me will resonate with anyone else. I did the research the same way, you know, when I had started and I was looking for a course. This is my game. This is what I love, and hence I'm here. But yeah, just compare, see how much of theory is there, how much of practical work is there, and then make your choice. It's a beautiful journey either ways. Okay. Any other questions? Last question. Yes, please shoot. That's very interesting. How healed do you have to be a hypnotherapist? I love this question. And whether it's the last or the first question, I don't care, and I will answer it to the best of my capability. Can you be successful? I mean, are you saying that can you have your own wounds and still be a therapist? Yes, Sarah, it is possible because we are all work in progress, which means we all have those parts in us that are still unhealed. So not for once I'm claiming that each one of us have healed and we have gone to Zen state and then we have become therapists. It's a journey. So one part of your answer is definitely that you heal through the process, and that brings me back to why I love this course. Is it is spread over 5 levels that gives you opportunity for you to heal first. See, I can only come and tell you that I want to clean your garage once I have cleaned my own. Now, if I say, for example, same example, I have an issue with abandonment and a client comes in with an issue of abandonment and client is also crying and I'm also crying, then I don't know who's doing the therapy. So yes, this is a journey of healing also for yourself. And in this journey, as you heal, I would say it's not about success. It is, well, it is about success because you will be able to deal with more and more complex cases with a lot more ease. You will not get triggered. That is the main thing here, because what is our job? Our job is to hold that space for our clients. Now, if as therapists, we will start to get triggered, then I guess nobody's doing the therapy in that room. In this journey, you heal those unhealed parts of you. When they heal, you are able to then reach out to the world and heal. Having said that, it's not ever, I personally believe that you're in a state where nothing needs to be healed anymore. There are always parts of us that come up, but they don't interfere with your therapy. The best way to look at it is the more empty you are from inside, which means the less judgment, the less bias, the less opinion about stuff, the better the therapist you are, because you have that openness to take your client in. Why? Because if I'm very opinionated and I have my own scars and my own wounds, then when somebody comes to me, this becomes about me. And it cannot be. When I work with a client, that 1 hour, that 1.5 hours is purely for my client. So we are in a better position to hold that space. But it happens with time. And hence, I always recommend a course that has a longer duration, because I don't believe you can study overnight and do things overnight. It requires that amount of inner work for you to get there. So both ways, I'm not saying you have to be completely Zen to be a therapist. You have to be human to be a therapist. You have to have that compassion. You have to have that sense of boundary, where to draw it. And you have to have that openness to, because unless that these three things are there, the openness, the boundary, and the sensitivity of this, your client will not trust you. And when I say trust, I'm talking of unconscious rapport, just not the conscious what we speak. When you exude that confidence in your client, that yes, you can be open with me and I will be non-judgmental in my space, I'm not going to be triggered by what you're going to tell me, that's when the successful part comes. Does that answer your question? Great. And for any of you, if you want to talk one-on-one, I'm sorry I didn't notice somewhere direct messages. You can always book in a free consultation with Illuminations. We could do it online and we could do it face-to-face. It's not a paid session. It's a 30-minute, 20-minute free consultation. If you have any specific queries, you can always get in touch. Okay. Is there any other last question? If not, then we will call it a day. And thank you once again for joining me today evening. It was a pleasure to be with you all. And have a wonderful evening. Take care. And I wish, I'm pretty sure many of you would take it on forward and bring this beautiful modality into your lives. Thanks, Ella. Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.